So I'm just gonna make a video. I've been meaning to make this for a while, but it's funny, like I wanted to do like a get ready with me kind of video and do my makeup and hair and stuff, but I don't do that a lot these days. I only put on makeup if I'm have somewhere important to be, and I hate all my clothes, so I don't really get dressed. But anyway, I wanted to do an update for school. It's been over a year now since I started filming these videos, and to be honest, in the beginning it was fun and it was exciting, and it was very come with me on this new journey. And honestly, who I was in those videos is not even me anymore. This last year's definitely changed me a lot, and I don't even mean to start out on such a serious note like that, but to be truthful and to stay authentic, so that I know one day when I'm looking back at these videos, I can actually see what my true feelings were at the time. I'd like to just stay authentic and say that this last year has really beat me down a lot in a lot of ways. I'm coming out of it slowly, trying to drag myself out of it basically. But it was just a lot, honestly. I can't remember when I've updated, or I've done little videos here and there, but I haven't done this is where I'm at in the semester. Honestly, even when I'm on TikTok these days and I see oh, I'm starting rad tech school in fall, give me your best tips and tricks, and I'm just scroll. I don't want to see any of that. I don't. So to be making that kind of content is a little bit weird for me, just because I'm on break right now. I just finished semester 4 out of 6, so I am coming up on semester 5 out of 6, which is crazy to say. This is all the type of program that this is the type that you very much are either going to sink or swim, and even when you're swimming you feel like you're sinking. And so these in between periods that are when we have a break, it's so important for me to touch base with myself and be wait, you're swimming, you swam, you're still swimming, you're doing the thing. Because when you're in it, it's so hard to feel you're actually where you're supposed to be, or that this is all actually coming true. And I think I could see last year wow, this is gonna play and play on parts of my psyche, and that I haven't had to address and I haven't had to deal with in a while, and insecurities and things like that, scholarly trauma, and I pretty much realized right from the jump that it was gonna be like that, but I didn't really know. This journey's taken me to so many different highs and lows. The highs are hard to enjoy though. I will admit, my grades when I started out last September, last August, when I really started getting into the deep, getting deep into the academics and the clinical, I struggled a lot. It was, and I thought to myself the clinical component's gonna be easy, as long as I nail that, the academic part matters a little bit less and whatever. And I was wrong, because they do go hand in hand. And so and that's what people were telling me, I was being told that a lot in the program, if I was struggling like with the didactic material, that like the clinical material was gonna, like the clinical aspect was gonna be more of a struggle. And then like I would get feedback from my like preceptor being like, we don't feel like your didactic struggles are like mirroring how you are in clinical, like we still think that you're like fine and whatever. But it was like a personal battle with myself of like not being good at something yet. That was really hard for me because I was good at my job before I started, and because I had experience and it felt second nature to me. And then like jumping into this and being like a little bit older, and I'm not old, you know, I'm 27 years old. Some people start this much later in life, and some people go back to college in their 50s and 60s and whatever. So to be 27 isn't necessarily old, but I was with younger girls a lot that this was their first career. So this was like, it was almost easier for them to catch on in a way because they weren't like jaded from the healthcare field. They weren't traumatized from the healthcare field. They weren't going into it with all these prior like notions of what working at a hospital might feel like or look like. They didn't have like medical trauma and like things like that. And like, so for me, it was kind of like this like personal experience of just like learning something new and not being good at it right from the jump, like knowing it was going to take a lot of time, dealing with scrutiny, but like dealing with it in like a non-constructive way sometimes was like pretty hard. Like having constructive feedback was one thing, but I struggled a lot with like when I felt like my like preceptors and like my like the staff were not like that constructive. Like instead of being like, oh, like let me show you how to do this, it was like, you're gonna do this all on your own kind of thing. And like it didn't always feel the best, and so it like put me in a state where I was just like really just like surviving. And I think what I've realized now that it's August and I'm about to start my 5th semester, and that I've already moved on to my senior site, and like is just that like all of the little things that were stressful that were happening over the last year, like were kind of like pushing my spirit down further and further and further until it like got down so far. And I needed a break so bad that like my body just started to like shut down. And like I hate to say that that's like where I am, or like that I'm kind of on the other side of like trying to now recover from that. But like it wasn't just one thing, it was just a long time and a lot of things that were just hard for me for a while. And like, hold on, let me fill in this eyebrow a little bit. And like I honestly was really proud of myself kind of in the moment of like how I was handling things, because I was like, oh, like, my anxiety is like minimal, like I still can show up every day. And I did, and I, like I said, I got my grades up, which was huge, because like they had meetings with us back in January of like the like mid mark whatever, like you're gonna be transitioning from freshmen to seniors, like we need to tell you what's up and how we think of your performance. And so it was like my clinical coordinator, the director of the program, and my physics teacher. And they like, my director of my program looked right at me and was like, you might be good in clinical, you might be good in physics, but I am not happy with your progress in my class. And I was like, damn, like, okay. Like, and she didn't say I'm not happy. She just said, she's like, I need you to get your grade up in my class. She's like, I don't think you tried as hard in my class as others, which, like, in hindsight, I did try in that class really hard. It just wasn't enough, and I wasn't taking the right approach to it. But that was, again, that wasn't the first semester, that was the second one. But that was when it all started really becoming real. You're balancing clinical, you're balancing, like, a whole new world, trying to learn the language of XRAY, trying to learn like the physical part of actually like doing x-rays. Why does that look so fucked up? Whatever. And so that like made the actual like school material so hard to give the amount of time that it really needed, because there's so much of me that was trying to commit to learning this new field in person. We were 3 days a week at clinical, so my whole time at Wentworth Douglas was thoroughly challenging, and like that's how I can like look back on it and say that from August to June, and I was there 3 days a week from August to June, rotating constantly throughout all the different things: fluoro, OR, exit 9, Lee, SOS, emergency room. Like, I was thoroughly challenged the entire time, and it kept me busy and kept me thinking enough. Like, I knew in the moment, okay, this sucks, like this is really hard, but I didn't know really what it was doing to me, like mentally, like until after I left, which is weird and crazy, but sometimes that's like, you don't realize how bad a situation was until you're out of it. And that's very much how I could describe like how this has been and how this has gone, because I made the switch to Huggins the week of June 23rd, and we immediately jumped into 4 days a week there, which is obviously demanding, like, but for me, taking a little step back from the didactic and taking like a little step forward with the clinical was what I needed to make it click. And a lot of people will say, like, I remember my preceptor even saying during our evaluations, she's like, I think like once you get to 4 days a week and this is like really like repetitive for you, that's when it's gonna, and I'm like, yeah, like probably, and she was right. Like, that's when it started really making sense to me, which after it starts making sense to you, there's so much weight lifted off of you. And so I think like the weight being lifted off, knowing that my grades were good in class, and like knowing that I was where I was supposed to be clinically, almost had the reverse effect on me. Like, instead of making me breathe a sigh of relief, it was almost like, okay, what's next? Like, because my body's still in that like place.